Practically a Roger Taylor solo song. Fight from the Inside, next on Crown Jewels. Welcome back, everybody, to PLD Projects Crown Jewels. I am your host, PLD. This is the podcast where we go through every song, every version of every song from the Queen catalog and beyond. Give some history, give some notes, some quotes, see if it fits my top 10 Queen-related tracks of all time. We figure out what the Crown Jewel is, the best version. We still add it into our ultimate playlist. This week's song, Fight from the Inside. Fight from the Inside, written by Roger Taylor, and features Roger on lead and backing vocals, drums, rhythm guitar, bass guitar, and it features Brian May on additional lead guitar. So really, it really pretty much is a Roger solo project. Brian adds a little bit on top. Interestingly enough, though, considering they are the two surviving members of Queen, I mean, John's not passed away, but John has retired. The two surviving active members of Queen, I should say. They have a song together with just the two of them. So they actually probably should play this one out on Tour of the Adam Lambert, because it would be very, very fitting. It's pretty much the case where Roger demos a lot of his stuff. I've talked about this before. Roger and Brian, they generally demo their stuff to the full. John doesn't do it because he doesn't like his voice, but I've kind of got to figure that almost all the Roger written tracks, all the Brian written tracks, at one point or another, Roger and Brian demoed with their vocals. In this case, I don't know how much further it would have gone on, because Roger probably would have done a whole demo by himself and then given it to the band, but the band looks like they kind of said, oh, we'll throw it in there, and that works. Brian added a little bit more, but not a whole lot, which is kind of funny because in a case of irony, Slash from Guns N' Roses was praising Brian May up and down during an interview at one point, and he cited this as one of his favorite guitar riffs of all time. And I think it's funny that he loves Queen. This is actually a Roger riff, and I think Roger basically plays the main chunky riff. I think Brian's is the more wandering guitar played on top of it. But we do have, like I said, 4 versions to talk about. 3 we're going to listen to. We have the studio version, the album version, as you will. We have the instrumental version, which was at once released as part of the video game Queen VI. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but also re-released in the 2017 40th anniversary box set. We also have the demo vocal version, which is also released on that box set. It gets a little of a hint of what it was like before they finished up on things. And finally, there was a convention demo that I never got a chance to listen to. I don't have it myself, so I couldn't really talk to you about it. I know Queen Vault, which I get a lot of information from, stated that the take was very close to the final version, and it featured a different vocal take from Roger with minimal lyric changes. To be honest, that kind of sounds a lot like the demo vocal version. I don't know if they're the same. It's possible. It's possible they're the same. But I just wanted to mention that for completeness' sake. All right, without further ado, let us pause this podcast, go to the Google Doc, click on the studio version. We'll listen to the studio album version and come back, and we'll talk about it. And there you have it. That is the album version. What a great dirty riff and a drum beat to begin with. I gotta say, if I had one thing to say about this track, I could just say one thing: it'd be dirty, earthy, grimy. It kind of feels like this, not a lot like a Queen song. Queen songs are mostly generally very polished, very overproduced, as some would argue. Some people would argue that. This feels like it's just kind of a real raw rock and roll sound, which is what News of the World really was. They had gone so far in the opposite direction with the Night at the Opera and Day at the Races, where they basically threw the kitchen sink in there. News of the World was really a return to their rock and roll like roots, where they could prove that they could just like kind of cut it live almost in a way. It's a very, very dirty riff, very nice drum beat, because nice little groove in there. Roger's pounding bass is much different than John. You can tell right away that John's on bass, because it's definitely more of a boom, boom, like thump bass in a way. And not as fluid as John. John often likes to add some nice fluid runs in there. This is definitely much more of a even that bottom end down. Features a great Roger growling vocal, You'll notice, and I've said it before, and you'll notice as we go on, Roger tends to like to put effects on his voice. I don't know if it's because he's not happy with his singing voice or he just likes the sound effect. I don't know, but you kind of get this very echoey kind of growl that adds a little bit more to the song itself. Not going to lie. The guitar riff does get a little bit more during the verse. There's a lot of that kind of like part that I think Roger likes to add that to. Very much more Roger than Brian. Brian does have this nice little kind of floating thing on top, where he plays a lot of the note while the riff is going on. Brian adds like this little texture above it, which is definitely a nice addition to it. Um, it's kind of funny that like if you listen to it on headphones, it feels like all the instruments are trying to bury Roger's voice by surrounding it. You have like instruments on the left side, instruments on the right side. Roger's voice is really in the middle, kind of surrounded, almost like it's almost buried by it. But it seems to be like a choice, not like a. It's not like it's doing it. It's not like it's a bad mix. It just feels like it's a choice to do. To hear Roger like fighting from the inside. I think that's the metaphor from the inside of the whole thing. His voice is coming through. I will say this song is a little bit repetitive compared to some of the Queen stuff. I've always mentioned that Queen often likes to, usually almost always likes to play it one way and then play it a different way the next verse, different way the next verse, kind of like to add some different things to it. Well, this one doesn't feel like that at all. Maybe again, closest to a more straightforward Roger song. It's pretty much the same throughout. Has some good moments, absolutely some great moments. Great rock track. It's got some nice grr to it, as you would. But yeah, that is the studio version. So, well, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments what you think about the studio version while you're listening to the instrumental version. That's the next version we're going to go to. Again, go to that Google Doc and come back and we'll talk about it. This is, again, I mentioned before, Queen the Eye, which was a video game in the late 90s, computer video game. From what I've heard, it was not very good, that it was very hard to play. Gameplay was very difficult. And I've heard some not so good things about it. Never really played it myself, to be honest with you. But I do like that it exists because we got a lot of different like remixes, instrumental versions, things of that nature. Some of which are important, some of which aren't. Some of them are just kind of like, they took out a minute and a half. They just played a minute and a half of the song. Not important. Sometimes you get some cool things, and this was one of them, an instrumental version to Fight from the Inside. They just basically, from what I've gathered, when they released the 2017 40th anniversary, this instrumental was good enough for them to mix. They just kind of released it again as of that. So let's go to that Google Doc instrumental version. Listen to it. Back for more. There you have it. There's the instrumental version. Sometimes instrumental versions can be very, very good to listen to. You hear a lot of things that are buried underneath the mix, underneath the vocal mix, as it were. This is not one of those times. I feel like this instrumental misses the vocals more because of the repetitive nature of it. I think the drums seem a little bit less echoey in this instrumental version, so I think they might have done something to the drums in this mix. I'm not sure what. But I said the best really part of the instrumental version is that chunky riff playing during the moments. It has a nice little extra riff playing, at least that wasn't buried underneath the oohs and ahs. I do like that. But ultimately, it's kind of a miss. It's kind of an interesting curio once, but it doesn't add a whole lot to the conversation. All right, we're going to listen to the next version now, the demo vocal version. This was, again, played. This is, again, released on the 2017 40th anniversary box set. We're not going to listen to the early convention take. I don't have it. I'm not going to rank it. It's just going to be out there. So take a listen to this demo vocal version, and we'll come back and we will talk some more. Okay, now this one I'm really glad I got a chance to listen to. One of the better releases from the 40th anniversary box set. It's just really nice to hear Roger without all the effects on the vocals. So it's a pure, or at least a more pure vocal take from Roger. I do like also there had a deleted line instead of the oohs and ahs section. You can hear Roger sing this high pitched, "Save me a place at the foot of the table. You can wash the dishes. I can drink the wine." I don't know. Lyrics are kind of naff. I'm not going to lie. The lyrics are a little bit whatever. But I didn't like the vocal run they had up on top. It actually added some differential to the rest of the gritty Roger rockin' vocals. I guess the one thing I would say negatively to this, and it's not really a negative. It's like I almost don't want to say it because I'll just say it and get it out of the way. It's obviously a demo that's going to be replaced. So it feels like it's a bit lazy at times. It feels like a bit of run for numbers rather than not putting his all into it. This is all basically like, I'm going to set this down so that we can do it for real at another time. So his part doesn't feel like he's really, really super into it, but that's okay. That's why I hesitated saying that. I can only judge it as a product that we're listening to, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't expect it to be. I expect these things to happen that way. I expected they're doing a demo that you might just kind of like just throw like just yeah, I'll just sing this here, fight from the inside, attack from the rear, so you can kind of get the rhythm of what's going on without really committing to it for like the album version, as you will, or for a live version or something like that. So I almost like it's a negative, but it's not really a negative because that's what they were. I feel like that's what the intent was. It was just kind of like let's lay this out, and we're just listening to we're getting a peek behind the scenes, so to speak. So give me more of those. I actually like to hear those. I get to like to hear different versions anyway on some different interesting ideas that we wouldn't get to hear otherwise. But yeah, those are the three versions now. The band never did perform this live. Roger never performed it on any of his solo tours, so it's really kind of been just left to the album. That's all there is to it. So already it's time to rate and rank. We're going to rank the three versions we have. Like I said, not going to talk about the convention demo. So between the album version, the vocal demo, and the instrumental version, I'm going to rank them in that order opposite. So the last is the instrumental, the vocal demo is second, and the album version is going to be my crown jewel. Not a lot to think about this time through. That's why I didn't try to be dramatic about it. Basically, the instrumental version I mentioned in my review of my discussion about the instrumental version that I felt it was missing the vocals. It's not something I'd say is the best version if I'm really missing the vocals that much. Vocal demo, like a lot of it, like that little additional vocal run up there, like the missing line or deleted line, rather, as it were. I like hearing Roger's vocals more. That's one thing I knock against Roger's tracks a lot of times, especially in solo material. I'd rather hear Roger just sing. Just sing, Roger. You have the voice. Just sing. But at the same time, I can't get over enough of like the laziness feeling, the kind of like not mess ups, but they're kind of feeling their way. It's not that it's not a finisher of a product. That's all. It's not supposed to be. But I'm looking for the crown jewel, the best version. The vocal demo is interesting. The album version is the finished product, is the definite best version of the crown jewel for this track. Now, on a scale of 1 to 11, because we always turn things up to 11 here on POD Products, what do I give Fight from the Inside? That's my favorite track on the album, my favorite track in Queen history at all. It's not going to be in my top 10. Easily not going to be my top 10 because I'm going to give it a 6. Just 6. It almost is a 5, except for I really do appreciate the antithesis of being a Queen song, the really dirtiness of it. It's kind of nice to hear that every once in a while. Got to get that gruffness to it. I do like singing along to it. I have a lot of fun that way. But at the end of the day, there's just a lot of other tracks I'd probably rather put on. That's it. All right, that'll do it for this week. Next week, we're back with Freddie Mercury's Get Down, Make Love. Very interesting track for sure. I'll have a lot to talk about with that for sure. But that's going to be next week. So thanks for sticking around this week. Thanks for not liking, not subscribe, leaving comments, get us up there in the algorithm. If you want to help the channel and help me out even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. I have a great crew of people there, including Austin Cadell, Jeremiah Morris, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman. Really couldn't do this without you or the rest of the crew. Really, really helped me keep the lights on. So I really do appreciate that. You can find me at PLD Projects on my main YouTube channel, alongside this YouTube channel, my sister YouTube channel. If you're listening on the audio feed and Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's all the same feed, so no worries there. Got a lot of podcasts I do. I do one on the franchise from the 80s. I do it on Star Wars. I do a franchise podcast called 2 Meter for Way Twos on Film. Right now we're in the Friday the 13th series. I do a Doctor Who podcast, which I just started as an after show. Yeah, we have a lot of fun there. So hopefully you'll come join us and stick around for more. If you just like the Queen stuff, that's fine too. There's a bunch of Queen remixes on this page. I'll probably put up some more Queen remixes eventually. I might put my own music. I might put like 2 tracks I did back in the 90s. I might do some more if you may be interested in that. But yeah, so it's a great time. I hope you guys you guys enjoy your time here. I appreciate you guys for stopping by, and I will see you next time. Until then, keep yourself alive. God save the Queen, and always fight from the inside. Attack from the rear.